Good evening, good morning, good day, wherever you are in the world, and thank you once again for joining another Thursday night live stream, live from Abruzzo with a home in Italy. It's just time is flying. I say it every week, but I can't believe it's Thursday again. But we have fun, don't we? So we look forward to Thursdays. There you go. Let us know where you are in the world. Write in the chat box. Let me know that I'm not sat here speaking to myself or speaking to our producer, Tony, who was in the background as per usual. Let us know just right away. Tell us where you are in the world. If it's the first time joining us tonight, then welcome. Where have you been? But welcome anyway, and stick to us for every Thursday night. We tend to do these things. A bit of a change tonight, actually, because it should have been Meet the Home Buyers with Pacentro Pete. But somebody may know Pacentro Pete is. He's going to become a little bit of a star. We were going to do it with him and somebody else. Unfortunately, the other person, so I'd written everything out as a script for two people. The other person couldn't make it last minute, so we had to change. And now we've got to do a serious one about taxes and all that sort of stuff. But we'll still enjoy it. We'll try and make it as enjoyable as possible. As much as it can be when we're talking about taxes, but it is an important one. I have done these before. I do try and change them a little bit. This one I'm trying to slim it down a little bit because it can be quite complicated, and I'm going to show you more examples of closing taxes and things like that, rather than sort of going through the whole process. So hopefully it's going to help you. So that is tonight's live stream. As I've said, if I can just take over the things, Tony, my friend, if I may, so tonight's live stream, for those of you, here we go, is fees and taxes. So I am going to natter on for the first 10 minutes. I know people love it when I do that, and it also winds up other people when they're watching it on a recording. But we like to do that anyway, don't we? So let's have a little bit of a chat beforehand. I've not come up with October's programs yet because we're not in October, even though it is at the weekend. So I will share with you next week what the programs are going to be throughout October. We're definitely having a Meet the Home Buyers. The big thing with the Meet the Home Buyers at the moment is there's so many, I would say 95%, and it really is as much as that. 95% of people are remote buying, never been here, never been to Abruzzo, never seen the house, and buying the properties. It is absolutely incredible. The downside is I've got nobody to interview because nobody's seen the houses yet. I've just got loads of keys in this office waiting to give to people that have never even been here, never seen the house. So slowly, as people start to come out and discover their houses, we'll have a lot more Meet the Home Buyers, because I do know that people like it. And I have had a few requests as well to see if we can catch up with Lexi and Craig. Lexi and Craig have been on a few of our Meet the Home Buyers, and we've actually put a great swimming pool in for them as well. So we may bring them on in October as well, see if we can get Lexi even more excited than what she normally is. So I will reach out to them, because I've had a number of people send me emails to ask, see if we can get them back on. So we may do a few revisits as well. I don't know if you can remember Barbara from Texas, who moved here all on her own, extremely brave lady, all on her own, and lives across the other side of the valley from me. We may have a little bit of a catch up with her as well. So we may do a little bit of that in October. So what else have I got to tell you? The tours are just going crazy. I am so happy. Those of you who don't know what the tours are, somebody's just said there they're looking forward to the January tour. Basically, we have group tours that we run now every 2 months. We've got 2 in October, which were sold out, but I've got to say that I have 2 spaces. Unfortunately, somebody had to cancel for the 12th and 13th of October, so that's in a few weeks' time. Not even a few weeks' time, a couple of weeks' time. In fact, it's 2 weeks today. So I have actually got 2 spaces available on that tour. So if anybody is already in the area, I think I'm going to throw it out to you guys first, and then I will send emails just to let everybody else know that there are 2 spaces available. So if you're interested in that, please email us on the info@homeinitaly.com. Let us know. For the other tours, that's January. If I could just take over the screen, Tony. I have to ask. It's disgusting, isn't it? I can't just press a button and take over the screen. I have to ask the producer, because his buttons override mine. Now, since when? Anyway, So January 25th and 26th, what I'm going to say is there is one space left, one space for January the 25th and 26th. We've had bookings from people that have filled out the form. Invoices have gone out. Unfortunately, they've not been paid. So we have to put people in the order that they are. So there's one space, but we've decided that we will tag a car along to this again. So that will increase to 4 spaces, because when you go on the website to book it, it asks you how many people you want to book for. And if it doesn't let you book, then that means that we're probably full and you need to email us. But I'm going to add another 3 spots onto that tour, so that'll be 4 spaces. If we fill those 4 spaces reasonably quickly, then we have got a much larger coach, so there is possibilities. So what am I trying to tell you? Email us if you're interested. I will add another few spaces onto that one, but these tours are really selling out quickly, which is fantastic. March, there is, if I remember rightly, Tony, there's what he's holding his hand up, 4 spaces left on the March one. So again, I'll wait for those 4 spaces to go. We will add 3 and then see how it goes with that. May the 23rd and 24th, there are more spaces on that one. I think that's because it's quite a way ahead. There's a potential as well. I'll take that off the screen. That we may even have 2 as well. We don't usually do them in June and July because, to be honest with you, it's too hot. There's nothing worse than jumping on and off a coach and all the rest of it. So for those of you who don't know what the tours are, just a quick thing. The group tours, we get together on the Wednesday evening. We always do them on a Thursday and a Friday. Katie Gismondi, that's my sister-in-law. Katie, I can't believe you sat watching this. Anyway, no doubt she'll be taking the mess at some point. So, Tony, any sarcastic remarks that come from Katie Gismondi, you need to, yeah, okay, he's putting his thumb up. Where was I? Tours. She's put me off now completely. The tours. So we get together. We do them out every time on a Thursday and a Friday. We get together on the Wednesday evening and have an aperitivo in the center of Pescara, because we tend to that's what we pick up in the center of Pescara. We meet on the Wednesday evening, have aperitivo, have a little bit of a walk through Pescara down towards the beach area. And then on the Thursday and Friday, we take you around lots of different towns and villages. We try and do either side of the Tony's pointing. So I'll come back to that, Gary, in 1 second. We try and do either side of the Maiella. And so then you get to see a little bit of everything. So they are brilliant tours, but we get together, show you loads of villages and towns, and we show you lots of properties as well in those towns and villages, a mixture of everything. They're great things, a great way to see the area, and you get to meet us as well. So Gary's saying, can I swap January for a spot in October? Yes, you can, Gary. If you want to email me at the info@homeinitaly.com. And we can sort. I don't know if there's 1 or 2 of you, whatever. Then yeah, if you want to do that, that's no problem. The one in October, I think actually I may have one left over on the 23rd and 24th. I need to double check. Not the 23rd, 25th. I can't remember when it is. Anyway, if you email me, Gary, and just let me know which date you would prefer, either the early one in October or the later one in October, and then we can swap that with no problem whatsoever. Okay, so that's the tour things. We do also take people around viewing outside of these tour dates. It's not just those that we do, but we do try and push people onto them because they're just a great way to get to know the area. You're guaranteed to meet us as well, which is obviously a huge... Yeah, that's got to be the main reason to come on. Whereas if you come in between, I can't always guarantee. You might end up with Tony, but... I try not to let that happen. No, or Domenico is usually the guy that takes you around. But yeah, try and join the tours because we do give lots of information. We're also going to be meeting the notary this time as well. We just try and do a few bits, and we have lunch together and all the rest of it. And it's just a great introduction. Hopefully we find people properties from the tours. If not, then at least you've been to the area, you enjoy the area, you know the places, and then when we find you somewhere, then you can just go for it like everybody else is. Like Ron, that's just been, well, he actually came out, but Ron has just bagged himself an amazing property in Sulmona that we took on a few days. He was the first person to see it and grabbed it up. It was Brilliant. What a place. Lilybell, hello, Dave. I sent an email regarding transportation from hotel to airport for October 11 tour, not heard back. Okay, so I'll look into your just send it me again, just in case. I'm about 2 days behind on emails, believe it or not. There's no way I can get to the one day after. But if you just send it to me again, and I'll check that email for you with no problem, and come back to you straight away. No problem at all. Okay, so that's, look, 10 minutes. I've done it quicker today. So let's talk fees and taxes. Let me just answer this one from sunny California. With all the remote buyers from the US, was wondering if there's been any backlash from locals in the areas. Thank you. Love your learning session. Thank you very much. No, there hasn't, to be honest with you. The investment is obviously really well accepted from the local people. We as in collective foreigners, tend to buy properties, the traditional properties, the older properties in the historical centres, and people love that because they love to see these properties coming back to life. So definitely not. And when you talk about the remote buyers from the US, it's mainly, it's unbelievable what's coming from the US, and I'm not going to ask why that is. I've had a number of conversations with a number of people about, well, pretty much everybody that contacts us. But yeah, you're really well accepted. So don't worry about that at all. The main thing when you're moving into Italy is to try and integrate with people. People just want that. Italians are fantastic people. They don't want people grouping together, sort of all foreigners grouping together and leaving them out of it. If you go there and respect their place and want to get to know them, then it's superb. Kim, are there a lot of bidding wars for properties on the group tours? We have a boxing ring as well, Kim. On the last night, we have a fight it out. No, it's these group tours are actually, I mean, it has happened sometimes when a few people love a place. It has happened. But what I've noticed with these tours is people get on so well, and there's so much respect between everybody. It doesn't really work like that. So no, I've had it a couple of times, but there's never any malice there. People they've come up to me and said, look, I love this place. I want to talk to you about this place. And then if somebody else comes up afterwards, I always say, look, with respect, these people come first. We've never had any arguments or anything like that. Definitely not. It is really good because people are also backing each other up as well. I just saw Ron mention then that Domenico and his wife were brilliant. Yeah, they are. They're fantastic. And you'll get to meet them. This one here, Domenico and his wife were awesome. They are brilliant, and they're doing their best to learn more English. And Domenico is an agent that I work with around the Sulmona area. They're fantastic. Another question before we get started. Hi from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I've been watching since the beginning. Do you have any suggestions on Canadians wanting to buy? Any loopholes? People keep saying, I keep seeing other channels where people are saying we found a loophole. No, it just doesn't work like that, unfortunately. But it's not that long to wait now. You know, it's a year, and hopefully in 2025, January 2025. So I've got no loopholes. People say open a company in the U, an LLC, and buy that, but then you're paying loads more taxes. I'd just wait a little bit longer. Lisa, love the areas of Abruzzo, Dusad, in Pescara, in the centre of Pescara. Do have some contacts there, so yeah, get in touch if you're interested in there. Okay, Tone, I need to move on to tonight's subject, otherwise we're going to definitely run over again. So let's get serious. Don't like that, but there you go. Hello, Dave. It's my first time here. I got into your channel about 10 days ago. We love it. Welcome, Maureen. Very nice to hear that you love it. So there you go. Join us every Thursday. Last one, Tony, that I'm reading. Joe is saying, not long now for our October 12th and 13th tour. Super excited. And I'm excited as well. Can't wait to meet everybody. It's a group of about, I think we're 21, 22, something like that. So, and we've got 2 superb restaurants lined up as well. So that's going to be really good. Okay, let's talk fees and taxes and how all of this works, because I do get myself wound up when I see things advertised on certain social medias where people say you need to put aside X amount for fees and taxes, and they haven't a clue what they're talking about. And people come out here completely what's the word? Completely, I'll change what I'm going to say. But people come out thinking one thing and then they're way out with it, and it can turn into a bit of a nightmare when people give percentages out. Sorry, I've got to read this one. Joe's saying, not long before 12:13, we're so excited. My wife and I were celebrating our 44-year anniversary on the 13th. What better way to celebrate? Dinner's on you, Joe. Fantastic. Knock that off the expenses, Tony. Remember that he said that. That's brilliant. Superb. Great to have a bit of a celebration. There you go. I'll look forward to that. We'll have to make sure we have something special. Anyway, I'll tell you, we can. I know it's still going. Anyway, where we're at, yeah, percentages. People sometimes write 10 to 15%. The thing with percentages is some of them can be right. Sometimes, in some scenarios, they can be right, and sometimes they can be way, way out. So you'll get the two extremes of it are somebody looking for a property for 10K, 15K, 20K. Let's say, excuse me, let's say below 30K. Unfortunately, the fees and taxes are going to be a huge percent, sometimes 50%. And I know you might think, oh my God, 50%, but that's because there's lots of minimums in there. So a property of 20K, you know, an agent potentially will take 3,660 off you, which is 3,000 plus VAT. So that's without any taxes, without the notary and all the rest of it. So just that percentage is 18% already. Is that right? 18%? I think it is. I'm not going to touch my calculator. So you can imagine that those people that are thinking 10, 15%, by looking at a property for 20K and thinking, oh, another couple of K in it, that's not how it works. For instance, I'm going to be showing an amazing property. I did a video the other day. It was a little bit windy, so I'm hoping the footage comes out all right, of a property that lots of people have been waiting for just 19,000 euros with an amazing lake view and all the rest of it. But unfortunately, it's going to attract the higher taxes because of these minimums. So it's pointless people thinking another 2K on top and I'll be finished, because it doesn't work like that. And that's why I hate when people, they write about their own experience and they'll say, the notary cost me X amount. Some people say the notary cost me 6,000. Well, that's probably including all the taxes as well, because usually when we say notary fees, we mean fees and taxes. Some people will say, I paid, I think my notary is too expensive. They quoted me on 10,000. The actual notary fee, the actual fee that he or she charges, is quite a small percentage. So up to 100K, it may be 1,500 euros, 1,600 euros. But the total with all the fees and tax and the rest of it could be 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever that may be. So all these comments, I know it's great to try and help each other out on social media and all the rest, but when people say, thinking about buying a property in Abruzzo, can anybody give me an idea how much is on top of the properties? And people do it all the time, but unfortunately, there's some terrible answers, and it's just gonna blow your budget and all the rest of it. Likewise, if you're buying on the other hand, should I say, if you're buying a property for 200, 300K, then the chances of fees and taxes being 20, 30K or anything like that are very slim. So, you know, the higher it goes, it works in your favor. So again, you could be budgeting for way over what you should be budgeting for, which means then you can have more money to spend when you come out here. But if you're thinking you're going to have 20, 30, 40K's worth of fees and taxes, then obviously, you know, you're going to be looking at properties that's a lot less than your budget. You could be missing out on something. So again, what we try to do on these Thursday nights is stick to facts and keep things as real as possible. The difficult thing is, because we can't give a percentage, then it is a little bit in the, you're a little bit in the dark, because there's certain things that we need to know to get a good estimate on these kind of things. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you the first slide. So Randall saying, could you run through an example case for your upcoming 19K property? Yeah, I've got a few examples here. And the 19K property, yes, I'll do the figures. Remind me, Tony, to do that one. I have got 4 examples I'm going to share with you, but I will do it on the 19K, even though I haven't fully seen the taxable value yet. But I will give you an example of that. So let's start. In fact, shall I do that first? No, let's start with this first. I'm talking to myself now. Let's do some screen sharing. This is where everything goes wrong. Oh, there it is. Okay, so these are typical fees due on a property purchase, excluding notary fees and taxes, because the notary fees and taxes can be quite complex. So let's have a look at some of these here. So the first one, estate agents fees. So typically it is 3% plus VAT. VAT is currently 22%, but it is often 3,000 as a minimum. So that's 3,660 straight away. Now, I've not put where we fit into all this, because we deal with people, we deal with private sales, and we also deal with other agents. Any agents that we deal with, they do not charge you. So that is my agreement with anybody that I work with, that they do not charge you a commission. That's why sometimes I say get in touch with me before you get in touch with the agent, because if I know them, then that will save you. You're not having to pay the agent. Then if you want to use my services, you're not having to pay me on top. I have agreements with everybody I work with, including Domenico, that he does not collect from you. So where I fit on in that, the minimum for an agent for a commission is 3,660. So we offer a full service where we get your tax codes. We're there with you all the time at 3,595, which is just a little bit less, but we do a lot more. It's not a commission. We can't charge a commission because we're not agents. So we charge for the services that we do, which works better for you. Not knocking agents at all, because if it's with an agent, that's the way it is. But yeah, that gives you an idea. There are some agents at the moment that are actually charging 4,000 a year. I think that's terrible. I think that's too much. So if they are charging you 4,000 when it's less than 100K, then try and negotiate a little bit on that. But I have heard a few people 4, and I've heard a few people 4.5. Usually this is the kind of minimum. Then you have translator and translations. I've put approximate 600 to 800 because that is the going rate now for people. It used to be a little bit less, but there's a lot that goes into translating. There is an awful lot that goes into it. And even though some people like give me power of attorney to go there, to sign on their behalf, there's still translations involved, because you literally have to translate. If I do an act in Italian, like I'm doing, we've got a few acts to do tomorrow, and these are from people that's overseas. So I'm doing the act in Italian because I speak Italian. But any documents that come in from English, so that's the power of attorney documents where people give me the power to sign, anything that's in English then has to be translated into Italian, with a translator present to sign. So there's always translations involved. So it is one of those things that you'd have to do, unless obviously you speak Italian, or if you're dealing with a notary that speaks both. But they usually charge more as well to do acts in double languages. Really lucky with the fantastic relationship we have with our notary. It was brilliant. He doesn't charge any more for doing the double acts, if you like, in English and Italian, which is great. I've then written geometry. The reason why I've put if needed, if the first two, I mean, really, estate agents, I should say, if needed, because you may be buying from somebody private. Translation and translations, if you're here and can't speak the language, you have to have that by law. It's pointless saying, I'll go to the notary and I'll just nod my head and all the rest of it, because if the notary thinks for 1 minute you're not understanding what they're saying to you, they will cancel the act. So it's just not worth it. The reason why I say geometry if needed, everybody knows what I think about geometers. And yes, Karen, we do provide the power of attorney form. Yes, we do. I think geometers are fantastic, because the way we do things, and just so you can see on this scale what our geometry charges, is at 695. But what he does, he gets all the documents, he checks everything. He goes into detail on the documents and prepares everything ready to go to the notary. So some people say you don't need that, but for me, it's an extra pair of eyes. And I just think they're just so good. Plus, if you're thinking about doing some sort of restorations, if you're thinking, I don't know, what you want to ask. I had a client recently that was going to buy an apartment. They wanted to know if a bathroom could go in a certain area, if a particular wall could come down. They wanted to buy it through another agency, but they really wanted some advice. And our geometer, we sent the documents to him, and straight away he said, tell them no, they can't do these things that they want to do. Even just looking at the documents, he knew that it couldn't be done. So to me, they're worth their weight in gold, without, no shadow of a doubt. And that's the way I like to work. I like to work with them, and he's there right till the very end, to the signing. He usually comes to the signings as well, and we just know that everything goes off perfectly. Solicitor, again, I've put if needed, and the reason for that is in Italy, solicitors don't do conveyancing. Now, I'm not knocking solicitors. Solicitors are the only people that can give you legal advice. But the only person that can do a transaction here is a notary. And a notary works for the contract. It doesn't work for you, doesn't work for the seller. He works for both of you and for the contract to make sure that that contract is watertight. And it's really important to understand that, because you pay them. So it's sort of unfortunate. There's a saying, I can never remember the saying, but it basically means that the buyer is weaker. The buyer is the one that has to pay things like the notary and that kind of thing. That's just the way it is. You're in a slightly weaker position, because that you have to buy that, you have to pay the notary, which then means you can choose the notary. You pay the notary, but the notary works for the contract and for both people, and he also, or she also, collects taxes and things like that on your behalf. So when anybody gives you a quote for a notary fee, ask if that includes all fees and taxes, or if it's just the actual fee. If it's a property sale up to, let's say, up to 200k, let's say somebody gives you a notary charge of 5k, 6k, 7k, 8k, it's not going to be just the notary fee. If it is, run. But yeah, solicitors, so they for me, it's quite a high price, because lots of them won't even actually join you at the notary's office, where in my opinion, that's when you need them the most. Everybody can say, but we get everything prepared beforehand. I understand that, but things can change at the notary. Things can come up at the notary where all of a sudden you think, what they're talking about, what's happening? And it does happen. Even if it's little things, to me, you need somebody by your side that at that point says, don't worry, that's just this, or don't worry, that's just, even when somebody takes something out of a contract, or the notary may say that there's a couple of phrases that sometimes go in and sometimes they come out. And the notary may say, let's remove that because we don't need that. If all of a sudden you're thinking, hang on a minute, they're removing that, is that important? That to me is when you need somebody. So I'm certainly not knocking solicitors or anybody like that. I don't want anybody to think that I'm just here to talk bad about estate agents, solicitors and all that. Not at all. If you feel that you need that extra person, then obviously go for it. But just understand, that's what I want to do on these sessions, is understand whether you need one or not, and you don't. And I would say 90%, or probably even more, of property sales between an Italian and an Italian, they would never, if you said to an Italian, are you getting a solicitor to help you with this? They would be like, why would you have a solicitor? Because to that, it's just not, it's not something they do. But I do understand that people want that little bit of extra hand-holding. Survey, if needed, approximately 600 to 1,000 euros, depending on the type of survey. Again, I've written not if needed, because I'm a little bit, I don't know, I'm probably stupid to say this, but I just think that surveys are just, I can't say a waste of time, but nobody can guarantee you anything. They're not going to dig down in the foundations. They're not going to jump up on the roof. So anything that they tell you is by looking at things and giving you their opinion, which I think is great. I understand that. I'm luckily in a position where any sales within our areas that we deal with, that our geometry is fantastic, and he will go, or if I think there's something, or there's a crack or something like that, he will go and tell us all about it. We had a survey done at this house where we live now, but that was because there was a crack that I could put my hand through. And obviously I needed to understand more about it. The agent at the time told me what they'd been told, which, to be fair to them, that's what they've been told. And to be fair to them, that was at the end what the geometer said. But obviously, you see something like that and you think, I need a bit more advice before I do anything. So I understand that. But houses that are just old, for somebody to go around and say it would be better if you changed the electrics, of course it would. Lots of times the electrics are not even on in these old buildings, so you don't know if you turn it on. But it's obvious that putting new electrics in would be better. If somebody said you could do with more insulation on this, they're not saying the place is going to fall down. They're just giving you advice about changes that you could make. And for me, I can see that with my own eyes. But again, I understand if people think that they should have this sort of thing done. I would say more so if there's noticeable cracks, or if there's certain things that you want to do that's really important. Maybe you're wanting to, if you're allowed to on the particular sale that you may be, a property that you're looking at, if you're wanting to build up, you want to know if these walls, if they're good sort of solid walls and all the rest of it. One of the best surveys that I had done for a client, the architect brought this. It was like an X-ray machine for the walls, and I thought that I can understand. Because they wanted to know, they wanted to add an extra story on top, and he was checking what the walls, because they're not going to chip away at all the plaster just to say, oh yeah, there's stone, and there's good stone all the way through, or there's this, or there's that, or it's filled with this and that. You can only see with your own eyes. But if you're going to really go into depth like that, where you can do these X-ray type things, fair enough. But to me, they're old properties. When I walk into an old property, if it was raining last week and I go and see a property and there's no wet marks on the roof, then I think to myself, well, the roof would obviously be better if it was new, but it's not letting water in. And because what else can you do? At the end of the day, it's as basic as that. So they are some of the minimums. You don't have to use all of those. You don't have to use any of those. The only one potentially do is the translator and translations, if you don't speak the language and you're here signing. But you could pass power of attorney on to somebody else that does speak that language, but there's still going to be some sort of translating going off, because coming from your language to Italian. So I would say pretty much that's about the only one that you must have. So there's some of the fees. Now that's excluding notary fees and taxes. So the reason why, again, that I exclude them is because they are quite complicated to work out. Let's just answer a quick question. Are all of these fees collected and dispersed by the notary or paid directly to the provider at closing? It can work in either way. Sometimes people send everything to the notary if the notary allows it, and then send everything off. Or yeah, it can be wired on the day. Obviously, the person that's collecting the money will want some sort of proof that they're going to get the money. So that has to either be a check that you give them physically, or a receipt to show that the money's been sent. So that obviously that's the kind of thing that they would expect. But yeah, a lot of it you can, when you actually sign for a property, there are some agents that will take their fees straight away, and that's normal to do that. Some will just take deposits, but they can actually take fees straight away if they've tied you into a contract where if the other party back out, you get double back. Then usually a lot of the time you will pay the agent straight away, because if you end up getting double back, you've covered those costs anyway. In relationship with seller buyer agency, is there not a conflict of interest? That is the way it works here. It's seller and buyer. That's they collect from both. So for me, conflict of interest, I see this quite a lot, where people will say if the geometer, for instance, some people may say, even about our setup, they may say, well, if he's saying use his geometry, there must be something either in it for him, or is saying it for a reason. Or the reason why I say that is because I know this person and I know they're brilliant, and I spend my life meeting contacts that I think I could use them and I could do with that. And I think when you think about a conflict of interest, I can't really see, when it comes to offers, if the seller, if the agent's saying, don't worry, I'll hold out for this money, you can just walk away. So the agent knows that they're getting double, they're getting paid from buyer and seller. So they're going to make both happy. So I can't really see how there would be some sort of conflict, because as I say, you can just say, no, I'm not interested. And then they've lost, a double commission. So even if it's the agent's mate that said, you know, make sure don't drop below 100, at the end of the day, if the agent's getting 3K off one and 3K off the other, they're going to want to make that deal go through. So I can't really see how there could be too much conflict of interest in things like that. I understand why people think like that, but I think logically, I just can't really see that, because you can always, you're the stronger person at that point. You can always walk away. Dave, what is EVA 22%? Do we need to pay that even if it's a private sale? Sorry, I wasn't sure if I understood. No, EVA, so 22% is so the VAT, basically. VAT is only due on professional services. So such as, for instance, estate agents. There could be lots of people now are registered in a certain tax band, a certain regime, if you like, where the Italian government means that we don't have to pay VAT, or we don't have to charge VAT. So I'm actually in one of those schemes as well, which is great, because it means that you register for a VAT number or an EVA number, because everybody has to have a partita EVA, it's called, but we don't have to charge VAT. So you're not getting the 22% on there. But usually professional services, so that could be estate agents as well, they'll put the 22% on it. It does not go on the house. So, and it doesn't go on the taxes either. So no, you haven't got to think 22%. If I'm buying a place for 100 grand, it's already 22 grand extra on top. That's not how it works. If you're buying something new and off plan, then there will be some sort of VAT on that. I'm not saying it will be 22%, but there'll be different schemes and different VAT rates on that. But that's only if you're buying new. Okay, so does the geometer have to be from the region? No, you could use any. It depends what you want them to do. You know, if you want them to visit the property, obviously there's distances involved. But no, if you've got access to the land registry, then they can check the documents with no problem at all. We did some recently did some signings near to Siena again, and our geometer checked all the documents with no problem at all. You just go onto as long as you have the details of the property, they can log on to land registry and get that information with no problem at all. Okay, so let's give some examples. Michael saying, this is good to know, since here in the US, a survey really only deals with the property boundaries. An architect or home inspection covers the building condition. Yeah, I mean, it is sort of similar here, but I don't know how far they go in the US. I don't know if they, I mean, do they give you guarantees about the service, the surveys? I know in the UK they don't. They give you a lovely big document, and right at the end it says, oh, by the way, all of the above, we're not responsible if it's not like this. This is something that really annoyed me. I remember paying a lot of money for one done in the UK, you know, and you get this huge document, and then it had that thing at the bottom saying, you know, all of this is just what we think, it's just an opinion. So I don't know in the US if you get guarantees and things like that, but you certainly don't get the guarantees here, because it'd be impossible to get into the foundations. And I say up on the roof, some of these buildings can be 10 stories high. Domenico's here. Dave President. This is the guy who we work with in the Sulmona area. I can't believe he's watching tonight. Dave President. One day I'm going to bring him on. I will bring him on here and you can meet him, because he's a great guy. But yeah, it should be good fun, that. Okay, so let's move on. We've done the typical fees and all that kind of thing. So now let's talk. Let's see some examples of what we need to get a more accurate figure. So the next document is, I better get through these pretty quick. So there's something else I want to show you at the end. Let me show this on screen. Here we go. So this is a visura, which means it's basically tells us about the property, tells us who the owner are and how owner is and things like that. The most important thing that we get from this is what we call the rendita, which is this little figure here where the blue arrow is. This is hugely important because this gives us the taxable value. Now, you can't really be calling every single agent up and saying, can you tell me the rendita of this? Can you tell me the rendita of that? Can you tell me the rendita of this property? Because they'll just ignore you. And quite rightly so. But if you love a property and they've got the documents there, then the rendita value can tell us so much. They should be able to give you an idea on fees and taxes. But let's look at this for an example. It's probably quite small. You may not be able to see it, but I'm looking where the blue arrow is. So where I'm just writing this now, the renditor of this particular property, so it gives us the folder number, the particle number, and things like that. It tells us it's an A4, which means A means that it's some sort of house. And it gives us a renditor of 227.24. So that doesn't mean that that's the taxable value. What you do, I'm going to give you, is if you're buying it from overseas and you're not becoming resident. So 227.24 times by 126. So it has a taxable value, because you times it by 126, of 28,632. This particular property was actually sold for just short of 90K. So look at the difference. When you pay taxes on the taxable value, not what you pay for it. The only time you pay for it on what you pay for it, the only time you pay taxes on the value that you pay for, is that right? That you buy it for, is if it's classed as a complete ruin and it's been registered in a certain way, that's a category F2. So if you're buying a pile of bricks, then you will pay, let's say you pay 100K for this pile of rocks, you'll pay the 9% on that 100K. That's one example. The next example is if you're buying it as a company. So if you do open an LLC or a limited company or whatever it may be, you buy it as a company, you cannot ask to pay taxes on the lower amount. You're a company, you pay for it on the higher amount. So that's the 2 times. If not, you pay on the taxable value. So in this particular occasion, 80,000 euro property had a taxable value of 28,632.24. Okay, which you pay 9% of that. 9% is 2,576. So that's the tax part. So to give you a rough idea on that one, 2,576, I'm going to put 1,500 for the notary. There's a few stamps, things like that you add on top. And then if you're paying into the notary's account, which most people will have to do, there's a fee for that. So that's notary fees and taxes on that would be approximately 4,676 euros. So that's working out 9% of the taxable value, and then adding for the notary and that kind of thing. So I'm going to show you a few examples, but that renditor is a huge thing. So I'm going to write that one down, because that's 227.41, because then we can use that as well to calculate yearly taxes. It's such an important figure. Is there an interval of time that passes before the renditor is revisited and increased? In other words, is the renditor ever re-evaluated? They have done some of them, yes, but these go back years and years and years. So it would have to pass another 1,000 years before they get up to anything like the values that you pay for things. But yes, they do something. And the other times when it changes is if you do work to it. So maybe you've changed some sort of space, I don't know, maybe a garage area into a room and done things like that. Maybe you've added a bathroom in a room. That all increases the number of rooms in the house, that then increases the renditor. So that can change as well. So it's a great figure to have that. Okay, let's move on to the next. This is a couple of examples here. Let me make myself smaller. Wish I could do that in real life. Anyway, so here's an example, a £200,000 townhouse. So we got all the renditor details out there. Now look at this. It had a taxable value of just 50,000. And then it had a storage room, because a storage room, like you'll see in Italian houses, you'll have cellars and things like that. They have lower tax values because they're not habitable spaces. So that's why things are registered as cantinas, garages, things like that, because then it has a lower tax value. So then that had a tax value of 17,101. So the total as a non-resident was 67,859, but the property was actually 200K. That's a huge difference. If you were buying it as a resident, the multiplier that I used before of 126 drops to 115. So if you're buying it as a resident, the tax value is 62. But just look at some of the differences here. You pay the 9%, 6,107. There's a couple of extra little bits in there that go to the notary. The notary fee in this case was 1,800 euros. That could be different from notary to notary. I'm just using a real example of this notary. Uh, Estate agent fee in this case was 3%. That was the biggest thing out of everything, 7,320. So total of non-residence expenses was 15,000. These are real examples. So that was just 8% of the price paid. So those that say 10 to 15%, if people are thinking 15%, you would have been way out. You know, you've been accounting for nearly 27, 28K, where the reality is 15. And if you're buying it as a resident and become resident within 18 months, it was just 10,860. That's one example. I'm not going to rush through these, but I'm sort of speeding on a bit because I want to show you something else. So again, a 50K townhouse with no land, anything like this. This had a taxable value of 22,000. This is not always the case. You can't guarantee that it's going to be half or less, because in some areas, the taxable value is very close to what you pay for it, especially when it's under 50K. Sometimes it can even be more. So don't take it for definite that it's going to be half the amount. But again, look at these figures that you pay here. When you get to the bottom of how much was paid as a non-resident, 7,589. In this case, it was 15%. But look at that's because it was a cheap property. And this is what I was saying before. The cheaper ones attract higher percentages. So the one before was 8%. This is 15. So in this case, the 10 to 15% is a decent thing, but a decent guess. But you can't think of it like that. You just can't at all. And I've written at the bottom that properties less than 50K could easily attract similar expenses to the above, if not more. So you could have a property at 19K and it could end up costing you, 8, 9K on top with no problem at all. Then we've got another quick example. Detached house, 150K with a garage, a shed, non-resident, and land of 5,000 square meters. Again, when you look at all the taxable values all added together, it actually came to 54,458, but they paid 150K. Again, don't think that it's definitely half or less. These are just examples. So your taxes are based on the 54, not the 150. Going down it again, you've got a non-residence expenses of 9.25% and a resident of 6.5. But can you see how much they vary? That's why nobody should be writing on Facebook, can you please tell me, all you armchair experts in internet land, how much I'll pay if I think about buying a property in Italy? They're the wrong people to ask, because somebody's going to say, well, I only paid 8%. Somebody's going to say, well, I paid 15%. Then they start arguing with each other. Then the original poster doesn't get to know anything that they want to know about, because then the argument goes off into another tangent, a bit like what I'm doing now. Everybody gets angry and then we throw our phones up against the wall. Anyway, or is that just me? Last example is, again, a detached house for a price of just 50K, which can sometimes happen. And look at the expenses, nearly just over 10,000. So that's 20%. So can you imagine that poor person that thought it was only 10%, or that poor person where somebody said, I only paid 8%, and they're thinking, all right, okay, I'll think 10%. That covers me all. 5 grand should be enough, to find out that 10 grand is more likely. So this is why you can't do that. So that's just a few examples. I know after all of this, you're going to say, so what you're saying, Dave, is you've given us examples, but you've absolutely no idea how we can do a quick calculation. And my answer to that would be yes, because it's just too hard. You need to know these taxable values. But what I will say is the people that you're dealing with should give you this information. There's nothing that I like more when somebody calls me up and says, Dave, I want you to help buy this property, and so on. Then this is I've had an offer agreed on it, or can you pass it on to Domenico to see if we can get this price, blah, blah, blah. And then they say, let's go for it. The first thing I want to do is let you know, as near as damn it, how much everything's going to be. And that's what everybody should do. Don't have these percentages, because it's not the estate agent's fault. It's nobody else's fault if you've got it in your head because so-and-so from Facebook told you 8%, so you thought 10%, comes to it and it's actually a load more. It's only your fault. But you should be able to say to these people, how much is it going to cost me in total before you put an offer in? And when people say to me, this is the offer I made. No, you need to know how much the full thing is, because some places can have a really high taxable value. Did I understand that if we use your services to buy and do not go through another agent, there's a flat fee of It's 3,595 euro for the estate agent fee. No, because I'm not an estate agent. We charge those fees to help you with everything to get through buying the property. There's also translation fees, there's also geometry fees and that kind of thing. And then obviously notary fees and taxes. What I do say, let's say for instance, you're buying a property through Domenico, and Domenico will not charge you. I will charge you. What I don't do as well is put my percentage up as the property prices go up. If the sale is a bit more complex, then that will go up. But if it's a property at 120k, 130k, 140k, I can't do, not I can't, but I don't put the percentages up on that. I cannot charge you a commission. I can charge you for services. The commission is from the estate agent. But as I said, Domenico will not charge you any fees. So, but you can't all of a sudden then think, oh, that's great, I'll just tell the estate agent I'm not using them, I'm using Dave. This is for people who we deal with, which is why it's always good to give us a phone call, find out if the person, the place that you're interested through whichever estate agency, if we happen to have an agreement with them. Because if we do, we can be thrown into the mix and it's not going to cost you any extra to do it, and will more than likely cost you a little bit less. Okay, so what was the next thing I'm going to show you? Let me get this back on screen. This is complete. What we've been talking about now is completely different to the yearly taxes. So they were purchase taxes. Yearly taxes are even more complicated to do. But again, people should be able to give you rough ideas about this. If you've got that magic rendita, as we call it, then you can do a lot to find out how much your IMU tax is going to be. This is paid by people that are buying second homes. If you're going to live here, so if you're going to live here, you don't pay IMU tax, you pay bin tax, refuse tax, rubbish tax, whatever you want to call it, which is called TARI. So the IMU, it's not one of that, it's not that blue bird with the orange beak. Do you remember that? I used to love that. That was the IMU. Back to the show. So yeah, the IMU is only paid if it's a second house. That what I mean by second house is not if you bought two in Italy and you pay on your second one. If you are a resident in it, you're going to be a resident in it, you don't pay it. If you're buying it as a holiday home and you're not going to be a resident in it, you pay IMU as well as the bin tax. Okay, so how can I help you on this one? Let's say the estate agent or whoever you're dealing with has given you the rendita number, or you've asked them, you know, and then you've asked them how much your yearly taxes and nobody gets back to you and that kind of thing. There is a great website that you can go on, and the website's called, how do I do this now? Hold on, that's not what it's called. Let me just find out. This screen sharing, I absolutely love it. Here we go. Show on, right, let me make this a little bit smaller, or me smaller. Hopefully you can see some of this. Why can't I get my, let me, 1 second, Tony, it's all going wrong for me here. Let me get this onto 1 second, everybody. I need to get rid of my other slides. Here we go. Move this to my other screen. It's all very technical. What on earth have I just done? Actually, that's probably better. So hopefully you can see my, yeah, it is perfect. Did that without even trying. So now can I change this screen back? Maybe I should have done this in, right, perfect. Okay, Tony, remember how I did that? Because I've got absolutely no idea how I did it. He's shaking his head as well. But anyway, so this is a great website. And if you want to write this down, amministrazionecomunale.it, write it down. If not, you can put Calcolo, which is there, CALCOLO, IMU. And this will be the first thing that comes up. But this is the web. I can see you all scribbling away now. Shall I turn it off? Shall I turn it off, Tom, just to annoy everybody? No, I won't do that. But this is a great program. So let's say they've given you a rendita. So I'm going to say a rendita of, let's look at that other property. That was 227.41. So what you do, it's all in Italian, but don't worry, because here it says comune. We can all understand that that means comune is the council. So what council is it in? We don't know the council code, so we write in here, let's say, what shall I choose? Let me choose, I bet you can all guess what I'm going to write, Sulmona. Okay, and there it is. So we click on that. Then what we do, unless you're buying a luxury property, because if you're buying a luxury property, you can't do this on here, as in, like, you need to double check, because this is A classes other than A10. But unless you're buying something on the shores of Lake Como or you're buying a really luxury property with swimming pools, then you need to check with the estate agent which category it's in. But for everybody else, this is fine. You can use this section here, which is basically saying all the A categories other than A10. What you do then is in this box, you put that magic number, 227.41. Now you keep this as 100% of because you own it 100%. When you actually fill these forms out, you have to do one each. You have to do 50%, but that's how we're doing it. We're doing it. Let's say you buy it in November and you just want to know how much it's going to cost you this year. Then you obviously change that to November, so it would just work out 2 months. But for now, do this January and December. This is the tricky bit because 8.6 is what the Italian government have as an average. This is a percentage that they apply to. Tony's pointed his finger down for something now. I don't know. He's trying to tell me. Oh yeah. Oh, he's written it. Look at the bottom. www.amministrazione. That's clever, isn't it? Anyway, yeah, but now everybody's going to think that's my website now, Tony. Anyway, I'll let him off. It was quite a good idea. I think I originally came up with it, but I'll let him off. Anyway, where was it? 8.6%. That is the average, but most of these councils have a higher percentage than that. If you click on this and you go through a load of Italian literature, you'll eventually find out the real percentage, but it can be a little bit of a pain to do it. So what I say is change this to 11%, because hopefully that's going to be higher than most of them. There was one council that I went on today, and it was actually only 9%. But if you put 11%, at least you know the worst case. And then as you slide down, it tells you how much you pay. That tells you how much it was for the year, and you pay it in 2 rates. Brilliant. I think it's such a handy thing. Just remember that when you actually work these figures out, you've also got to know how many categories are in the house. So let's say you've seen a house that's got a cantina, that will have a different category. That will have a C category. So if yours has got a garage, you will pay this on garages as well. And what all you do then is you go into this here, this pull down box. You can't actually see the pull down on the screen for some reason, but I can. But you change the category. So I'm going to change it to a C2. Yeah, the Rendita will be much less than that. The render on the one I've just seen was 75.6, I think, something like that. So on that particular room or on that garage, that's how much you will pay for the year. But it's just a great story. Let me change that to 11%. And that's what you would pay, 139.71. May seem a bit complicated, and it probably is. But if you really, really want to know this, people should tell you these things. People should help you out. But if they don't, get the Rendita. Say to them, this is the one that I want. This is the property that I love. Can I have the Rendita? If they don't want to give the information out, can you please work it out then for me and just tell me roughly I'm going to be paying, how much I'm going to be paying per year? Because these things are important. It gives you a full, there's no surprises. But if not, go on to this, ask them for the Rendita. If there's storage rooms, just say, is there any other Rendita that I need to know? Because you'll need to check, is there Rendita? It's the garage. Can you tell me what that's, what the category is? Is it a C2? Is it a C6? What is that? Can you give me the Rendita? So if they can't be bothered to do this for you, then you can go in here and do it yourself, and it gives you a really good idea. Will the property owner receive a bill prior to the due date? Now, this is everybody knows that I love Italy. I absolutely love living here, love everything about it. This part of it is mind-blowing for me, because no, you don't get a bill. You have to actually work it out yourself. So usually people will ask, believe it or not, an accountant or whoever else to do it. Most accountants can't be bothered. Some accountants may ask you for 50 euros, 100 euros. We do these services as well. And they all use this system. Once you get to know the system, you can actually do it yourself. If you're confident enough to do it, you can do it yourself. But believe it or not, you do not get a bill. I mean, coming from the UK, I find that really strange because council taxes are the one bills that come through the post that if you don't pay, you can actually go to prison for. Whereas here, it just doesn't. It's weird. You've got to do it yourself. You've got to do that information. So that is something that's a mad system, but that's the system. I record a PDF of your services, but the link isn't on the website. It is under the services, but I'm changing the website as I promised before. I'm in the middle of changing it, and it's going to be really, really clear. If you want a list of our services, just email us at the info@homeanditaly.com, and I'll send one to you with no problem. But there is going to be the website is going to completely change because we've got some new things coming up really soon. That's it. Oh, Tari, the last one, bin taxes. This one is a little bit difficult because each council charges a slightly different rate. They would do. Obviously, they're going to do. In Abruzzo, we tend to work out roughly €2 per square meter, but it can change. The only way you can find out for definite is from the council. But while you're getting these rough ideas, if you put €2 a square meter for your bin taxes that everybody pays, whether you're resident or non-resident, that should give you an idea. So 100 square meter property, round about €200 per year for taxes. So the taxes and property taxes are much less than what you're probably used to paying back at home. But if it's got a high taxable value, there will be some surprises possibly. So again, I can't stress enough, and I don't know why people don't do it, because to me it's a better way of doing it. But you need to be asking people, before you start considering your offer and what you're going to do. It's not the owner's fault that you have to pay council taxes. So you can't think, I mean, you can try, but it's not really very fair to think, well, I've got to pay council tax every year as well. So, I'm going to knock the price down and blah, because some owners will be like, why? We all have to pay taxes. But in my opinion, people can get so many surprises, especially on the purchase side, so many surprises on that you need to know that before you consider your offer. And I think that's really important. And whoever you're dealing with should be honest enough to help you with that, because for me, that's the right way to do it. I want a long relationship with clients. I don't want to annoy you and tell you something last minute, and at the end of the day, if the agent says, look, I'm sorry, I haven't got time to work that, it's not really their job. In my opinion, they should do it, but some of them may say no. Get some advice on it. Just tell them, look, at the end of the day, if you want me to buy that house, I need that information. Dave, are you a licensed real estate in Italy? No, I'm not. And I will keep saying that too, that there's some channels that love to try and hint away at me. I am legally registered. I pay taxes in Italy, pay too much tax. I pay taxes in Italy. We are legally registered. Myself and my wife, we're legally registered as I've completely forgot. Italian property consultants. That is what we are registered at, legally registered at. I cannot charge you a commission. That works in your favor for so many reasons. It also means that I cannot charge an owner commission. If an owner wants to advertise on the site, if he or she sells that property, I cannot charge them a commission. And they know that, so they're paying out less as well, that hopefully the savings are going to go on to you. Commissions can only be paid by legally registered estate agents. I work with some estate agents, very, very few. Domenico is probably the main person I deal with. He can charge a commission, but he doesn't charge you a commission. He charges the owner a commission. So again, there's lots of things to work in your favor. But if you ask me that question, no, I'm not. I prefer to be registered this way because for me, it gives us more flexibility for the kind of work that we want to do, the kind of clients that we want, and the kind of works we do. You understand? Lisa, where are areas near Pescara that have historical homes for sale? I'd rather work with you. Thank you very much. Depends on what you mean by sort of near Pescara, because you'd have to sort of, if you send me an email and let me know sort of how far away from Pescara, because obviously Pescara is modern because unfortunately it was bombed in the war, so it is lacking a bit of the historical centers. But I'd need to know more the kind of thing that you're looking for, the kind of sort of style village, if you like, and that sort of thing. But if you send me an email, I will get back to you as soon as possible. Okay, guys, I've only gone 4 minutes. Tony's doing it again. He's adding some more. Yes, I will answer this one. Dave, there seems to be a bit of confusion about residency versus citizenship or dual citizenship. Perhaps say a quick word about that. Residency is if you live here. Let's get this. That's a great question, because it does fit in with what we've been talking about. Because lots of people say to me, I'm waiting for my Italian residency. I'm sure that will be easier, and I'm sure I'll pay less taxes. No and no, because it doesn't matter whether you're an Italian Italian citizen. If you are Italian and you live wherever you live in the world, you don't live in Italy, for instance, and let's say you're an Italian citizen, you're sat wherever you're sat now, and you say, I'm going to buy a property in Italy. If you buy that property in Italy as a holiday home, you're still paying the higher tax, still pay the 9%. You still pay the EMU tax because you're not living in it. Resident means that you're making it your first home. I am living there. You're living there, you pay the 2% on the taxable value of the house, and you don't pay EMU taxes. So whether you are Italian citizen, British, US, Canadian, Australian, I'll go around the world, whatever it is, if you're not a resident, if you're just a citizen, doesn't change anything. The only thing that citizenship helps you with is if you want to move here. You haven't got to go through the visa state. If you're an Italian citizen, you move here, and that's it. You are Italian citizen, and you have the rights of all other Italian citizens. That's it. It doesn't mean to say that I'll buy a holiday home in Italy, they're not going to charge me because I'm Italian citizen. That's not how it works. Okay, guys, hopefully that wasn't too complicated. I know I've probably not helped you at all, and you're probably still thinking, well, I'm still no wiser. But on how to work these taxes out, just don't go by percentages. Ask people. It's so important. They should be giving you the information. If they're not giving you the information, you're working with the wrong people. If they tut and sigh and say, oh, another email, tough. I need to know this. It's part of my process that I need to know to make sure I can afford this property. And that is a reasonable thing to ask, and keep hammering down the door till you get the answer. And if you don't get the answer, you know where to come. There you go. Okay, guys, we've got October. It's October next week. What we're going to do, what shall we do in October? I'll have a think about it. Get ready for this. Oh, I didn't do that. Oh, I can't. It's too late now. The 19,000. Whoever asked me to do that for the 19,000 property, I will. Oh, I've got to do it now. I said I would do it, didn't I? Okay, let me just tap. Can you hear me? Tapping on the calculator. So I would say in that case, this is just in case anybody just joining me. We've got a brilliant property that's coming on at on Saturday for 19,000 euros. But unfortunately, you will potentially pay with our fees and everything else, and I'm very expensive. That sounds terrible, doesn't it? I'm just doing sort of rough figures here. I would say the whole thing is going to probably come out somewhere between 28 something, possibly, and that's just unfortunate. That's why I was saying properties of that kind of price can attract really high percentages. That's just unfortunate. But having said all of that, that property, if you can get it all in, under 30k, all in, it's an absolute steal. It really is. It's a great property. It needs some work, but it's a brilliant property. So watch out for that on our YouTube channel at 3 o'clock on Saturday. Tony wants me to answer this one because he keeps pointing to it. Looking to spend 3 months in Abruzzo. Can you assist with long-term rentals? We have a client from the US that's bought a couple of properties, and he's doing exactly this type of thing, Airbnb them out for a month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. He's a great person. He's got some amazing properties in brilliant locations. Send me an email to info@homeinitaly.com. And anybody else that's interested, I'm going to actually get him on 1 week to talk about his experiences. He's still never been here. Anyway, that's somebody else. But let me know, info@homeinitaly.com. And I'll let you know about this person. You can deal direct with them. I don't get involved in that side of it. You can speak to them. They're from the US, and I think he's got some brilliant, brilliant properties. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for all the compliments. I really appreciate that. Anybody interested in taking up those 2 spots on the October tour, and there's possibly 1 spot on the later October tour, send me a message. If you are looking to book and the online forms won't allow you to book, send me an email. We'll do everything we can to get you booked in. Thank you so much, guys, for the support, as per usual. We'll see you again next Thursday at the same time. And I don't know what I'm going to be talking about next Thursday, but you'll find out soon. All the best. See you soon.